are live. Thank you for joining me. This will be my thoughts on Arrow Season 1, Episode 13, Betrayal. The episode is rated TV-14, so will this video be? There will be spoilers for the episode and the ones leading up to it. Another episode I absolutely loved. Holy crap. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna try to keep this somewhat chronological. So, let's see. I forget if it's the very first scene, but very, very early in this episode. We see the prison, and we see the release. And it's David Anders. Like, holy crap. Yeah, slightly belated birthday present for me this year. That actually is slightly appropriate, because technically this was my present. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, big fan of him. Loved him on Alias and Heroes. And as usual, he is lethal, seductive, charming, and British, and yeah, just wonderful. And it's such a strong introduction to the character, and also immediately, like, we see, okay, yeah, it's a David Anders character. He's not. They didn't just cast David Anders for something, and because like immediately, he's like, come out, wherever you are, you botched my trial. And stabs the guy because he needs a place to stay. And that's just because that, again, you can do a lot with a character introduction if you have them do something really dramatic. And yeah, if he needs a place to stay, he'll kill a guy that he has an issue with, which of course, yeah, as soon as we realize that Laurel has been trying to keep him in prison, of course he's gonna go after her as well. Yeah, really, really nicely done. And there's a decent amount. Like, sometimes I forget how far they could push the TV-14 by the time this episode first aired. But I guess it is that thing of, like, as long as you don't see the bleeding or the scene in the car where Mr. Wright goes, say the GD words, you're gonna be okay. And I really love that the what was her name, Vivian, Viv, is also like, she's evidently got no problem with that. She's not like, okay, did you have to kill him though? We could have just like kept him as a hostage or something. She's smiling through the whole thing. Just, yeah. And I think that might just about. But I do kind of love how, like, I've seen him introduced in, multiple times by now, doing acts of violence. And I think that just about brings us to. Yeah, I forget if it was the very next, but let's talk about. Right, so yeah, the book. That I thought they handled that really well. Also, yeah, Oliver in denial. I'm not talking about the river. Yeah, he just can't accept that his mother is involved. And Dig makes some really excellent points. You'd already, what was it? You'd already be having an arrow side chat, which I guess is like a fireside chat, but with arrows instead. And not that the two are mutually exclusive. And yeah, the thing about, are you running to save Laurel, or are you running away from the fact that this could be, that your mother might be involved in something? And yeah, we didn't get a lot of Thea this episode, but she made the most of her brief, just, yeah. Not unlike a rich person to compare, crap, what was it called again? Community service to slavery, which, like, wow. Yeah. She really needs perspective. Hopefully the community service can accomplish that. But yeah, let's see, I think because like, I mean, again, she could have gotten someone killed. I mean, it's one thing that she risks her own life, but, yeah. but it's so much worse that, yeah, she could have run someone over or something. So, yeah, she's getting off extremely easy. And the other lawyer is like, I used to make 6 figures, now I'm pro bono. You know, just, yeah. Somewhere Matt Murdock is shaking his head in disgust at that remark. And I think yeah, I kind of loved how, you know, so yeah, the other one was like, so, you know, Vanch got out. Oh, I better call Kate. Already did? I'm gonna go see her then. She also told me to tell you not to go see her. It's wonderful. Yeah. And yeah, um, we get the rap sheet as, you know, character leaves the prison bus in slow motion and is about to board Con Air. And yeah, he does sound like, holy crap. It's yeah. And uh Arrow goes to, you know, investigate and, you know, does overhear some. And I love the bit, you know, it's, yeah, I'm never gonna tire of seeing him just taking people down with the bow and arrow. But, you know, one guy gets too close, fires the, you know, the gun, so Vanch hears, and he's not like panicking. He's just like, oh, sure. And he picks up the arrow and, like, is this thing on? I'm gonna go after you. That's gonna be my ticket to the big time. Just holy crap, this guy does not mess around. Which, like, also, like, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. If Arrow was gonna fire an arrow into Vanch at that point, he would have done so instead of bugging him, you know, and also listening in, not just annoying him. Yeah, that was really cool. So yeah, you know, Arrow knows that Vanch is gonna go after him and like try to make it big, you know, so he knows that he knows, and he knows that he knows that he knows. So yeah, wonderfully done. Again, loving these villains. My God, they are just so, yeah. Uh, let's see. I think, does that bring us to the so yeah. I feel bad for Tommy. You know, he really is trying to make it work, and I don't know. Maybe there is a chance it will after this with the lack of the phone. You know, Arrow. You know, are you pretending to break up with me? And yeah, you know, he's just trying to go on these dates with her, and yeah, the thing about, you know, oh sure, let's go, you know, with the and the, you know, Arrow calls and, you know, like, okay, we meet in half an hour, and she tells Tommy it's a work thing, which I guess is a half truth. Um, and yeah, you know, Quentin. Multiple names in this show that start with Q. Quentin, Queen. If John Delancey himself does show up as Q, that would be amazing. Um, Best part of TNG, hands down. Anyway, he could work at Q Consolidated, like that other one. Anyway, yes, we get to the, so yeah, the rooftop. Yeah, the thing about, you know. Oh, right, yeah. Quentin, you know, being told, you know, being given another case, and the lieutenant is like, "Don't make me bust your ass down to sergeant. You know, I'm not gonna ask for your badge and gun because I really do need you on this case, and you're not that much of a loose cannon right now, but you're pushing it." And, you know, the other guy shows up. It is, I will never understand these bits of, like, you know, I mean, dude, he's probably, you just gave him the Arrow assignment, like, it's probably about Arrow, you know, but no. I know he's probably working other stuff as well. And maybe he's one of those guys who'll just walk up to you and say, "Oh, so how about that game last night?" when you're looking really busy. So fair enough. But yeah, the moment that you hear, because there's an address and there's a time, and yeah, it's not gonna be difficult for the cops to be there. It's in the city. It's close enough that Laurel can get there, so it's close enough that the cops can get there. And yeah, he like hears a door or something and is like, "Oh, we're not alone," and grabs her, and yeah, like that genuinely is, it's one of those things. He he didn't really have any other way to be sure that they wouldn't shoot him, and he does clearly hate it. Like he that is why he breaks up, and that's part of why he didn't tell her in the first place that he's Arrow. He never expected her to become part of this, but he had to, once the uh, yeah. Anyway, uh, let's see. We have the right and the yeah. They talk about rubber bullets, and I can't help but notice that they do. The thing with rubber bullets is that the reason the first of all, they're not non-lethal, they're less lethal, and the only way to keep them less lethal is to ricochet them, to shoot at the ground so that it, yeah, you know what ricochet means. Because if you aim directly at, there are people who have died from being shot with rubber bullets and other less lethal options. And yeah, it was not that long ago that a reporter was purposefully shot by. See, I can't remember if it was ICE, but if it was one of those groups that are effectively serving as like Gestapo right now, and brown shirts for that matter. Yeah. So I'm not sure if the regular mainstream audience knew that back then, or if they would think, why are they aiming at the ground? But it was something I noticed. And yeah, Quentin actually does get close. Like, it's only because Arrow hid and knocks him out that he actually, yeah. And understandably, Laurel. I'm sure it's not the first time that Quentin has seen her very upset, but yeah, and by the end of the episode, she's like, "You should keep your distance from me. It's gonna take a long time for me to forgive this," and love the cut with the, give me the phone back, and she slams it down, then smash cut to Arrow putting the bow away. I mean, he didn't have a sidekick named Bo in the comics, did he? Because that would be a little on the nose. But I think that brings us to, yeah. I think I'll just briefly talk about so yeah. Tommy, the thing about, you know, uh, this was tonight, so this was your work thing. He realizes that she's lied to him, and yeah, the thing about you've been lying. Dad's been lying to me for weeks, and Tommy's like, you've been lying to me for months. And Tommy points out to Oliver, who is also such a great, and that is also part of why he decides to end the partnership. I think you could arguably call it, with Laurel. And yeah, this was the first relationship where he didn't lie, and he really, really hoped that it could be honest from both directions. And by the end of the episode, they are still together, but you do see on Laurel's face this thing of like she is gonna miss Arrow, and I think, but yeah, him catching up to her, and Arrow leaving while she looks away, disappearing, does doing the disappearing act, and yeah, points, asks, "Are you okay?" And there is relief on both, and I do think she is happy to see him. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's going to be difficult for her to leave Arrow behind. And I think, that. Right. I also love the your daughter is being made Marian to the Hood's Robin Hood. That was a great line. If so, I just hope, you know, the actual actor being a real, real bad person, notwithstanding, I do hope it's the Errol Flynn Robin Hood that he's talking about. I don't think any of the others quite matched up, though I do have a lot of fondness for the animated Disney one. But the ones that have been made since then, let's see, Prince of Thieves, the 2010 one that's just called Robin Hood, and the 2018 one that's also just called Robin Hood, they have their moments. I don't think they're particularly. They're not. I'm not saying you can't reinvent Robin Hood. I'm just saying you have to reinvent him into something interesting, because the original is, I guess, maybe not so much interesting, but at least like really memorable. That's what's been lacking from recent Robin Hoods. I think, honestly, I wouldn't mind if let's see, Stephen Amell, I think is his name. If he did play Robin Hood in something, I'd watch it. I think that pretty well covers. Love the bit where it's like, how did Oh, right, yeah. Love the bit where Tommy comes home. That's also such, she's like leaving messages like, please come back. Oh, hey, I was just leaving you a message. And they come in, and she does fight several of them off really badass, but Anders shows up and she gets starstruck. Who wouldn't? It's David Anders. But yeah, he leaves behind an arrow and he recorded message on, yeah, holy crap. And yeah, Tommy, starts listening to it, and we see the, close up on the arrow, and then it cuts, and he's playing the arrow message for Quentin. Wonderful economic storytelling. It is completely pointless for us to see him hear the entire message and then leave to go to the police station and then arrive and then tell that no, just we know what happened. It's not like audiences by the point this first aired were ready to accept that sort of thing. I'm not sure if the audiences were ever super confused by it, but there was a while where studios thought they would be. So, filmmakers had to come up with something interesting for the characters to do while they're walking from place to place. Anyway, some of them did well. I do think Hitchcock did well, at least some of the time. Anyway, we are moving on to, the thing with, how did Vance even know that there's a connection between Laurel and Hood? Oh, and he looks around and he's like, I can't trust any of these cops. Oh, is that how poor people feel all the time? But I really appreciated Laurel confronting him and pointing out, he's Graham Linehaning. He is obsessed, and it's driving away what's left of his family, So, yeah. And that is, again, like, really compelling. Like, yeah, legit. If he gets a chance, he might literally try to kill Arrow. So there's some really great tension there. And I'm not sure. It's one of those things, like, I don't blame her for saying he needs to keep his distance. She's 100% in the right. But this is one of those things where I worry he might start to spiral, because that is, when people who already have problems start to lose their support systems, they can spiral. So, dramaturgically speaking, I'm really loving the decision to push. Let's see. And that's also, like, we don't really see it, but I can't help but wonder if the lieutenant's gonna get real angry about how, because, like, he got a bunch of the cops out, and, Laurel was in danger, and they didn't even get Arrow. They didn't even find out what he looks like. They accomplished nothing there. yeah, I can't help but wonder if it's gonna be, yeah, I think I've said what I had about that. Yeah. Uh, let's see. I quite appreciated Dig following and driving her around. When we heard her say, Ricky hasn't had a sick day in 6 years, I was sitting there thinking, oh no, is this like, because the book, the burn book was burned, and which was also a great bit of, because like, yeah, is she protecting, or I mean, we know that she's not protecting, but we can understand why Oliver thinks that she's protecting. And it was interesting that she actually told some of the truth. She said, oh yeah, this is the book that your father wrote, people who owe him favors, which I think there's some chance is the truth, or at least part of it. And yeah, she gets rid of it, and Dig knows Oliver isn't going to. So, but yeah, so he checks into it. When Moira was talking about, oh, Ricky hasn't had a sick day for 6 years, I was thinking, oh, did Mr. Merlin send someone to, but no, it's Dig, and it's happy birthday, because he thought he was gonna catch her talking to like some criminal, and it's I mean I suppose it's not impossible that it is that, but yeah. But yeah, later he manages to record the conversation. They laid it on a bit thick that the building is number 066 and the room is 606. Like, okay, we get it. Like, Mr. Merlin is the devil incarnate. Um, I guess what I'm saying is, I think 1-6 would have been sufficient instead of 4. But yeah, that is deeply incriminating. And he manages to trick the other guy, and that was also such great. Oh, sorry, I was just I'm working for Miss Queen. I'm working for the guy who she's talking to. Then I guess we're on the same team. I don't think so. But he manages to convince him. No, I was just looking for a place to get a smoke. Which is also one of those things. Like, I mean, if he smoked in the car, like, I'm trying to think of why would the guard, the guy in charge of security, which is also like, it's not like Dig can knock him out, because he knows exactly what Dig looks like. He's gonna, if he tells Mr. Merlin, oh yeah, there was this guy spying on you, this is what he looks like, they're gonna find him. He works for the Queen family. It's yeah. Anyway, the yeah. Why does the guy in security buy this story? And yeah, I mean, he's probably thinking, well, if Dig smoked in the car, if Moira doesn't want him to do that, she'd definitely be able to smell it. If he stood outside of the car smoking, she might catch him. But if he's standing in here, okay, I guess that makes it, or maybe not standing in there, but like if he was just looking for a place to smoke where he wouldn't get caught by Moira, because he didn't see the listening device. And I think that does pretty well. Yeah, that was a really, really cool ending too. I think it's time to have another talk with my mother, and holy crap, there really is all or nothing with Oliver, isn't it? Yeah, jumping into in through the window. Never gonna tire of that either, by the way. Really loving seeing that. It's such a cool move. Love that it's kind of his signature. Like, you know, I wonder if he even uses doors, if he at all has to, if he just jumps out a window. Preferably one that's closed. But yeah, Moira Queen, you have failed the city. Holy crap. Wonderful place to end it. I can hardly wait to see how that is going to play out. Yeah. Let's see. And that was also, yeah, it's a very incriminating message. She says, I didn't have to make the usual threats. And we are also told, the name of, I already forgot what it was called, but, yeah. Yeah. I feel like we're getting closer to finding out what they are planning. And I think that pretty well... Okay, so there's the flashbacks. Then there's the... yeah, I think I'll talk to close out the David Anders stuff. Yeah, really cool when, you know, he's describing all the people that, you know, he's like, I hardly doubt that he can fight his way through all of that, you know, and we see him fight through, and very clever with the, you know, explosion to take out, because, like, when there's two snipers, one of them, if he shoots one sniper, the other sniper is going to know roughly where he is and might be able to shoot him before Oliver can shoot back, you know, can take him out. But the explosion, like, temporarily blinds them, you know, the first time they saw an exploding arrow, it was blinding. And I think that does. But yeah, I really, really did love, like, you know. Oh, hold on. No, yeah, actually, let's stay with the. So yeah, you know, he takes out all these, and then he's like, you know what I've noticed? He only has 24 arrows in his quiver. Someone's observant. Holy crap. And he was just talking about how he's no Einstein, can't do quick maths. But, yeah, you know, the guy has a shotgun on him, and this thing with, you know, put the bow down, Merida. I guess arrows. Shooting for Laurel's hand. And, yeah, you know, the thing about, you know, I need your help, then I need yours. And yeah, it's the thing. You know, it is extrajudicial. You know, he can't legally go in there, so he can't ask any other cop to go with. He'd be asking them to break the law. He can do it himself. You know, he'll make. Oh, actually, I wonder if there could be consequences to that as well. I hadn't really thought about that. Yeah, because technically what he did was illegal. And also, yeah, he does almost shoot, you know, talking about my daughter, which also makes me wonder if he's going to spiral now that he's temporarily losing, you know, yeah, losing his daughter. And yeah, you know, Oliver takes out the gun and says, I'm the vigilante, you're the cop. Which, yeah, this was back when there was still a lot of faith. I suppose there are a number of people who still have a lot of faith in cops. Although recent events might make that number drop drastically. I think that might just about... But yeah, you know, the thing, okay, but I don't have to read him his Miranda rights either. Very cool. And the flashbacks. Okay, so... Right, and also I did want to say, does sound like Tommy knows how to treat a girl well. The thing, you know, let's eat food from the best chefs in the city. Like, holy crap, that's a... Yeah. And it's so exclusive, too. Love that, because it's like, you know, they're going to have the place. It's just going to be them and the staff. There's not going to be anybody else there, because it's, you know, essentially a what's it called? Like a job interview, you know? They're not going to have to deal with annoying patrons or something. Let's see. But yeah, and the thing about, you know, the lieutenant saying, ever thought about if anybody wants you to capture the hood? Because, you know, and yeah, like he mentions, you know, he freed the hostages, and, you know, remember several episodes ago when he stopped Garfield Lynns from delivering exclusive one-way tickets to Burning Man? And, yeah, I think that brings us to the flashbacks. So, I love the casting on this show. I cannot believe Manu Bennett. I really hope I'm pronouncing your name right, dude. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. Yeah, he's great in 30 Days of Night. He's amazing in the Hobbit trilogy, that was one thing. Like when he's got like Oliver tied to the chair, I was half expecting him to say, "You're lucky I don't introduce you to my son, who still has a thirst for dwarvish blood." Um, yeah, just incredible talent, and I love that they did. Yeah. I guess I shouldn't say I do know him from the comics. I suppose I won't say exactly, but yeah, I do love that. Yeah, by the end he does say Slade Wilson. So if you know, you know, and it's like holy crap. Yeah. Phew, okay. Um. Yeah. Oliver, reaches the point where it says survive. There's a brief moment where we're wondering, um, did he mean survive the encounter with Slade or what exactly? But yeah, um, immediately Slade's got the sword to his neck, and that was also great later when he's got both swords on his back. But yeah, he is like, well, if you the he tries to train him, um, and yeah, the thing about if there is any fight in him, and I do love, and I will say that is, yeah, from what I've read, that is Slade Wilson of the comics right there. He was about to kill Oliver because, he's a liability. He might be tortured and give up information about Slade. But when Oliver, like, I'm slightly unclear on, because he ends up with his arm in a sling. I thought it was like his wrist or one of his fingers, maybe. Yeah, let's see. I was thinking fingers because that's we've seen that in some movies. If someone is cold enough, they'll break one of their fingers. I think it's specifically the thumb to get out of handcuffs. But I guess he broke his arm to get out anyway. But yeah, he does that, punches Slade in the face, and Slade just smiles and says, "I guess there is fighting you after all." And he's not gonna kill him now because this was what he wanted. It's like it's just from 0 to 60, like just immediately, like I'm gonna take you out. Oh yeah, you might be of use to me. Death sentence suspended for now. And let's see, I think that does pretty well bring us to. And yeah, I really appreciate how, yeah, at the time, like in these flashbacks, Oliver really, really struggles to fight. He just doesn't have it in him yet. Um, but yeah, of course, he's gonna train with one or both of, maybe Slade, maybe. I'm sorry, I forget the name, and especially the pronunciation, but Mentor, Island Mentor. Worst part is they actually say it in the episode, and I think they even say it multiple times. But there's so many things going on. I can follow it and process it, but I can't remember all the names. Anyway, I think that might just about bring us to. Yeah, really loved when Dig is, like he enters the building and he can like hear conversation, and he's, I've played Hitman 2016. I know when someone's realizing, oh, there's an opportunity revealing, I just have to listen in on this, and he has to find a place that's not too far away so that he can't hear, but also not so close that they interrupt the conversation, and then he has to trigger it again. Um, hides in a place, briefly considers if he should knock a guy out, but, there's not any, containers in that room big enough for one or two bodies, so. And let's see, yeah, playing that currently. There will be a review, but it's gonna be a while. Yeah, I am still very early in the game, and I don't play much of it. I play like 11 minutes per day right now. My wrists need the rest, but loving it so far. I guess there's no harm in saying I did every. I've just finished doing every single challenge of the first real level. The let's see, the one in, I would say, Paris, and I've completed the second one once, and I'm close to completing it a second time, but I'm trying to go for all challenges, so it's gonna be a while before I'm all the way done with the game. Let's see, I think that does pretty well cover, yeah, really love the confrontation about the, you know, yeah, the mask, and, you know, Slade's like, we all wear masks, metaphorically speaking, and he insists that it's his buddies, you know, he's the one who tortured you, not me. And yeah, is like, does Oliver completely buy that, or what, you know, just, yeah, really nicely done there. Because that is the thing, like, does he trust this guy to, like, again, the word was survive. Is it survive by taking out Slade Wilson, or is it survive with his help? You know, yeah. Um, I think that is pretty well. Yeah. I think the oh, I did also think it was very clever that, you know, Dig, like, yeah, he's like, this is my job, you know, I'm bodyguard and driver, and, you know, that sort of thing. So, like, yeah, I don't think Moira suspects him yet. Very, very nicely done. Like, hypothetically, let's say that, you know, oh, Ricky disappeared because, like, we know, you know, yeah, Dig, like, I'm thinking, like, maybe Rat poisoned him again. Hitman 2016. That's not gonna, like, kill him or anything, but he's gonna be out of commission for a little bit. But hypothetically, let's say Ricky disappeared, and then Oliver was like, "I'll drive you around, protect you, Mom." She'd be like, "What's going on?" You know, because that's not like that. It's like the real him, but it's not like the him that he's been projecting since he got back, and the him that used to be him before him become new him, current him, I suppose. Um, yeah, I think they did also do a good job. There was this moment where, you know, like, Slade's confidence in Oliver does also wax and wane. You know, there is the bit where he's like, you know, well, choose a weapon, and Oliver's like, I choose the banjo.